when it comes to like the candle making process, you obviously need like the basics to make a candle, because I make them a little bit different from how you make it the original way. I'm gonna show you the original way, like the basic way to do it. So the first thing you're gonna need is a vessel. And in the candle community, a vessel is a jar or anything you wanna put your wax into. So I have an 8-ounce jar, a regular 8-ounce jar, and a regular 4-ounce jar. Next, you're gonna need your wax. People prefer 464 wax, which is very inexpensive, but it can take a long curing time. I use 464 wax because it is better with scent. Scents adhere to the wax. It's a better scent throw than other wax. I always opt for soy wax. Other waxes have different curing times, different melting points. This just has always worked for me, but I think it's best if you are starting out to work with soy wax first, just to get the basics down before you buy an expensive wax and you don't know what you're doing. I use Freedom Wax. You can get this off Amazon. Before I used to use the Candle Science wax, but it was a bit more expensive, but this was a little bit more affordable for my first time starting out. Next, you're gonna need a measuring cup, which I just used this small one, also got from Amazon. It was about, I think, $6. I just mixed my fragrances in there. And with the fragrances, you're gonna need a scale. So that's the only way to measure them and to figure out how much wax you need to how much fragrance is used, because there's different scent throws of how strong you want that fragrance. There could be a 5%, a 6%, 7%. But what I do, because I like mine smelling really, really good, I use a 9% scent throw, which may be strong for some people, and also should let you know the maximum fragrance load for soy wax is 10%, which is why I stay in the 9% range, because if you go to 10%, that's when things start to get a little messy and confusing and can also mess with your wax. So I like to stick to 9%. I also got this scale from Amazon. I think it was about $7 to $10, but this is really helpful. It has how much you want to use. You can change the units on it to pounds, ounces, anything that you want to help you with this process. Next, you're gonna need a pouring pitcher, which I got this one from Amazon as well. You can get them from Candle Science or anywhere that candles are being sold. There's usually a pouring pitcher with it, but I got this from Amazon for I think $20. But this is where you're gonna put your wax into to melt it. And I use the double boiling method, which is putting it in a pot of water or on the stove and just letting it boil that way. You're gonna also need a heat gun, which was also from Amazon, because you don't need to get high priced things for it to be the best quality candle, because I made all my stuff from mostly Amazon products, but this was from Amazon. I think this was $8, and it's just to heat up the top of your candles so you have a nice finish to your candles, because I know sometimes people have like the bumps and the grooves and the divots, but this is how you fix that. And now I talk about my fragrances. These are my fragrances I use to make the candles I showed you earlier. I have a bunch of different fragrances. You can get them in these like big bottles like this, or you can get them in like smaller bottles like this. It all depends how much you want and how much you're mixing into your candle. But for today, I'm gonna make something I've never even made before. I'm just gonna try something new. I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret that I've learned when making candles. You usually have to opt for like the basic candle scents, but I went to my two favorite are Candle Science to buy my fragrances and the Flaming Candle. But the Flaming Candle is way more versatile than Candle Science, because when I buy from the Flaming Candle, they always give me like a free little sample. So I got 2 so far. You get a free little sample with every purchase you get, which I find to be very helpful. So you can use those to maybe put into the next candle scent, or just try out and see if you like it. Or like I said, this is like a starter kit one. You could use this and see what fragrance works with you and with what wax. So the fragrance I'm gonna use today is from the Flaming Candle. I'm gonna use this, it's called Hansel and Gretel's House, which smells exactly like cinnamon and like nutmeg. It smells so good. You're probably gonna think that this isn't enough for a candle, but the fragrance loads are very strong. Like it's like almost alcohol based, where you can smell it from like a mile away. Like when I make candles in this house, it smells up the entire house. Like it's very strong, so a little does go a long way. And also with mixing fragrances, in order to make a specific blend that no one else can have, people like to mix fragrances. So instead of me just using one fragrance, people would usually mix two to make one specific scent, which is what I do for my candles when I make them. So today I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm just gonna mix another scent with this one, which I'm not sure yet, but I'll figure it out towards the end. Now these are the other basics for candle making, which we're gonna start off with this thermometer I got. You need this to determine your melting point of your wax and your cooling temperature of your wax. So this is very helpful, and you will need this when you're making candles. Next we have wick stickers, and this is how you stick your wicks to the bottom of your jar. So essentially you would just take your wick and take this tab off because it'll be sticky on that side, and stick your wick to the sticker and then place that onto your jar. Now I know you guys seen my candles and what I do. For example, I'm just going to show you my vanilla ice cream candle. So on the top I have a piping which looks like whipped cream. I'm going to try to show in this video because I know it's a bit hard, but it's easier as you go because I did not do it perfect the first time, but I wanted some type of difference to my candles. So as you can see, it's like a piping like right about here, and then all this is just regular poured wax, whereas this is a different method of how I put the wax in the jar. So for that, the piping on top, I usually use a piping bag, which you can get from honestly any 99-cent store. You can get this from Amazon too, but I think I got this one from my supermarket, which I think this was about $4 or $5. But you're also gonna need a metal tip, which this I did get from Amazon. This is how I tip the top to make it look like whipped cream. This is gonna be your wick trimmer. I got this from Amazon as well. And this was about, I think, $7. But this trims your wick because each time you use your candle, you have to trim your wick. Because I know you guys know when you burn a candle and starts getting that black smoke or that soot in the air, that's how you know you need to cut your wicks. Next is my candle dyes. In order to make these different colors, I use candle dyes. And the trick is you're only supposed to use 1 block of candle dye per 2 pounds of wax. So this would be 1 block. I cut it in half, but this would be 1 block right here, and every 2 pounds of wax you would use 1. But honestly, it depends how strong of a color you want, but I use about half the block sometimes, or sometimes I do use a full block if I want it that intense of a color. Great thing about this is these packs are only $1, I believe. I don't know if they changed it. That's like $1 or about, I think, 95, and you get 2 blocks of dye in here, which, like I said, a little goes a long way, so you really don't need that much. These are wick holders. Put this in, for example. I'm gonna get a jar. Say there's already wax in there and your wick is in here now. Need this wick to be as straight as possible so you get the perfect finish. So this is where this comes in, and you put it through, say it's, you know, in the middle, and you would just make this straight so it would be straight while it's cooling, so you get the perfect wick. Last but not least is my warning labels. This is just if you're selling them, but if you're not selling them, I guess it's not as crucial, but since I do sell them, I put a warning sticker, which basically warns you of where not to place your candles and to trim your wick, and you know, it's just a fire hazard, so you have to put the stickers. And of course, every candle comes with a lid, but I ordered like a pack of lids. This was from Candle Science. I believe these were $6 to $7 again, and I think 12 come in a pack, or 6 usually come in a pack. So since I don't have a brown color, I just opted for using the color wheel of the primary colors to make a brown color. I chopped up bits and pieces of each dye block to hopefully make a brown color. So I used mostly red, and then I put some blue and some yellow in there, and hopefully I get the perfect brown color. Here comes not my favorite part, which is weighing the wax because I'm terrible at math. So you're going to need your scale and your pouring pitcher I mentioned before, and of course your wax. So let me show you something. Before you put your pouring pitcher onto this, you need to make sure this is at 0 L times. So now it's already on and it's already at 0. That's when you start weighing your wax, because you don't want a different number every time. It has to be at the same number every time, which is going to be 0 when you start off. So since I'm only making a 8 ounce and a 4 ounce candle, I'm not gonna need that much wax. So now we're going to measure our fragrance. Like I said, I always custom blend, so I'm mixing 2 different fragrances to make this candle. So we're gonna start off with this, and we're gonna get it to about 2 ounces. Oop, it kind of went over. It's fine. I want that one more anyways. And then we're gonna put the second one for it to reach 5. Like I said, I like a little bit more, so we'll go 6. Perfect. Keep in mind, for making custom fragrances, you do need to mix it, or else the one fragrance will just sit at the bottom while the other will sit at the top, because mixing 2 different fragrances, they might have 2 different fragrance loads, so they may separate. So you need to mix them before you put them into the wax that's boiling right now. As you can see, the wax is already melting. You just need to mix it a bit more. I'm gonna add the little bits that I cut off from the dye block. I'm just gonna add that into my wax that's already melting, because I want to see what color it makes, so I know what to add and what to change before I add the fragrance oil. So I'm just gonna stir this now. Add this little bit of block left I had of a yellow. I'm just gonna add that to maybe get that brown color I want. Just lighten it up a bit. You'll see now it's getting like a different color. It's like I see the yellow in there. The red is still a lot, but I just want like a specific brown, like almost like cashmere or like a coffee color. And very helpful tip, if you want to see what it looks like when it's dried, I suggest like taking a little bit out and putting it on a paper towel to see what color it really is, because it might be different from what it is in the pot to what it is outside the pot. So I put on a napkin, and this is the color it gave me. I don't know if you guys can see. It's like almost the brown I want, but it's still a little too red, so maybe adding more blue. So I just took it off the heat, and now I'm gonna see how hot it is. It should be about 185. Like I said, usually once it comes right off the heat, it's a whole different number, so you might have to put it back on a couple times. See, so it's like at about 179, 180, so I'm gonna put it back in for a few more seconds just for those extra 5 degrees we need. So that means I'm just gonna wait a few minutes just for it to drop 4 degrees, which it's dropping now, but we're gonna wait. So at 185, you're gonna want to mix your fragrance and stir for exactly 2 minutes for the fragrance to adhere to the wax. So now my wax reached 185, so I'm just going to stir this before I add it in and pour it and stir for exactly 2 minutes. So it's 418, so I'm gonna start now. So now I'm gonna let these cool. These usually take about 1 to 2 hours to cool. So we're gonna let this cool now, and I'll come back to you when it's chilled. So now we're back, and they dried. I don't think they dried completely, but I just wanted to show you guys a problem that I run into sometimes. I don't know if anyone else runs into this, but the tops. When the candles are cooling, sometimes the tops can begin to crack or sink, and this is something you want to fix before it's completely dried. So as you can see, the tops are looking a little crazy, as in they're sunken in. But what you want to do to release the air bubbles and to fix the cracks, you're going to need the heat gun I told you about before, and you're going to need to poke a hole in the candle, which I know sounds crazy, and I thought it was crazy too. I didn't used to do it, but trust me, it helps. To make the whipped cream part of the candle, I did the same exact process I did for the base of the candle. So just add your wax and then add your fragrance. Also, another thing, for the candles that I did make in the past, I used molds at the top of them. I don't know if you guys remember, for the lemon, I had like a lemon mold at the top, strawberry like a strawberry, blueberries, a cherry, and a pineapple. But since these are gingerbread kind of inspired cookies, I don't have a mold like that, so you can use whatever mold you want, but for now I'm just gonna use what I have, which probably is none of these, but I'll try to make something work for the top of the candles in the end. As you seen earlier, I had a bunch of leftover wax, and I don't like to waste wax, so I try to put it into something else. So I also have these wax melts, these molds, and I just put my leftover wax, which I have a lot of it, and I just put it in these molds, and I could just either sell them or use for myself. I also have these wax melts that I made from all the leftover wax. I forgot to mention, all the leftover wax that I didn't end up using, I made them into little wax melts that I ended up selling on my site. I just made like a bunch of them, but there's not as much anymore, but that's what I end up doing with them. Usually I sell them, or I just keep them to myself just to try them. I got these cute little baggies from Amazon. Sometimes you can get it from like a corner store, honestly, but I think they were in bulk about $6 or $7. I feel like I said $6 or $7 at least 20 times in the video, but that's just the range and price of most of these things. These are all my finished product candles from strawberry milkshake, lemon pound cake, blueberry pie, vanilla ice cream, pina colada, and I didn't make the label yet, but I'm gonna try to make it tomorrow. I think I'm gonna name this one either gingerbread house or cinnamon toast, because I tried to put some sort of like crunch on top, like gingerbread crunch, you know, from like a cookie. You would crush it up and put it on top. That's what I thought would look nice. And I filled the majority with the whipped cream because I guess I didn't make too much of the base, so I just decided to fill it up with whipped cream, which is what I usually do. But this is all my little creations.